Hello, today I want to introduce you to a conceptual RPA bot model with reuse patterns established in my master thesis. For this, I already created a demonstration example. This example represents a classic way where an RPA bot opens a browser, goes to a specific formula, enters the data, closes the browser, checks if the submission of the data was successful or not. This is represented by these RPA operations. We first open the browser, go to a specific URL, then we click the button, so that stands for the navigation to a specific form. Then we enter the data, we click the submit button, extract the data in the next phase from status, if it was successful or failed. We close the browser because we don't need it anymore, and then we will, based on the status or submission, if we have to inform a colleague or a human in general to handle this manually, or if we can skip it and finish the RPA bot. In the thesis, I introduced that data is an essential part for reuse, and for this it was extended to not only create the connections between data resources shown as a web page here and transient data shown as input text here to an RPA operation. It is now also possible to explicitly define the relation. So in this case, we provision a web page from opening a browser URL, or in this case, browser input text. It requires an input text, so what has to be typed into the browser. What we can see, or maybe we can't see, is we have common operations or sequences of operations that we can reuse at other points in our bot repository. One is the Outlook open, sending an email and closing it. That's a common process that at the end is done mostly every time when we have to inform a human in the company. Another thing is we might be able to generalize this part in the top where we open the browser and submit the form and evaluate if the form submission was successful or not. The only thing that we have to differentiate is where we have to navigate and what data we have to type in. So it's an ideal case for the decorator pattern. So in the next steps, I will show you how they are defined and how we can substitute the existing parts with the new created decorator and facade. For this, in the prototype, you can create new ones. So you can say, okay, I want to create a new facade or decorator, proxy, and chain of responsibility, or a template method. In our case, I already prepared send email facade. For this, you can see here that we directly implemented the Outlook open RPA operation, sending an email and closing. For now, we doesn't have any data exchange, but we are able to pass data into this facade and to provide data. So to show it with a data resource, we can here directly define takes on, so it will be provided in the RPA bot that relies on this. But we can also get this data, so it is provided by the upper RPA bot that uses this facade. Another example is the decorator that I already tried to introduce, and here we have this data associations more explicitly. So the attribute, browser get attribute, we pass to the upper RPA bot that is using this decorator, and we define it as requires. In addition, we have this sequence injection point as discussed in the master thesis. We can inject from the upper RPA bot that is using this decorator an RPA operation or a sequence. And what we are doing is explicitly we provide the web page to the RPA bot that uses this. Yes, so the next part we will substitute the existing RPA bot with the new introduced facade and decorators. So for this we can just delete these parts here, and on the left side we are able to filter out relevant RPA bots, and so here's our email facade. We can drag it onto the canvas, connect it, and here we are. So what we can see if we click on it, we can use it and in a white box reuse way by inspecting this reuse concept. So we get to the definition point, and also we can identify what data is accessed. So, but in this case, no data is there. Next thing is going that we implement the decorator. For this, we drag the RPA with browser formula, and we copy the parts, or we take the parts that are relevant. So first one was if we navigate to a specific point, we also type in the text input. These are things that are relevant. We disconnect the arcs that we do not require, and we will place it inside it here. We can also do then is we delete the things we don't need anymore. This don't need, this also not, and also the web page itself we don't need anymore. What we are now doing is we connect our sequence here, and as already pointed out, this injection point provides us with a web page where we can operate it on. This can be done by this arc, and we can take the provides. We can also inspect this, so we can go into the starting event here, and we see a web page is provided. And then we can also, because this one implicitly writes a web page, connect this one. At the end, we can also know that the decorator yields some data. In this case, it's the attribute that decides if it was successful or not. We will connect this one. And finally, we also have to place here the end event in case that data has to be transmitted or not. So for this, each decorator is associated with a start and end event for the injection point to have a clear definition of the interface data. We will connect it, and we just place it a bit better on our canvas. We will link the start event, and now we also connect this to this decision point, and we can see it's obviously much less complex, and we have applied 2 of the 5 reuse patterns. The other ones are similar to this, so you have 4 injection points every time these start events defined, the end events defined. You have also, if you click on reuse pattern, clear interface is defined, and you can every time inspect it. But what you can also see is everything is defined in a black box reuse manner at first. Only the inspect button allows us to go more into detail. Finally, you can also inspect the metrics. So if you click on this demonstration, you have now the metrics of the original one listed here, and they are all adapted to the new approaches. Yes. So the prototype is available on the GitHub repository and also on the live URL, so everyone is allowed to try out this prototype. Thank you for listening.